Hey guys, I am Game Advisor, and today we'll be going over the Week 51 Community Feedback number 5 update for Icarus. And I'm going to be honest, this is the biggest update I think Icarus may have ever had so far. It has a massive amount of changes that bring massive quality of life to the game and some new features. So let's just jump into it. Now, first and foremost, we need to talk about what the biggest new feature is, and this is a huge one. This is massive. This is something everyone has been asking for ages now, but for some reason, they've just been unable to code it into the game, but they figured it out. After 51 weeks of being in full release, they have finally figured out how to add Autorun. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We now have Autorun officially in the game. To do this, you're simply going to hit colon or go into your key bindings and change it to something else.
Oh, it's the best thing ever. Yes.
I don't know why this was so hard to code, and if I'm being completely honest with you, it probably wasn't, but they finally added it, a very highly desired request from many players, and I am very glad it's in the game. This does also work with mounts if that's something you care about, but more importantly, it works while you're walking on the ground. This is very straightforward. You hit the button, it auto walks and holds W for you. You can still steer, you can still do all that stuff. You can stop it by simply hitting S, or you can sprint during it in order to move even faster. Either way, you will no longer have to break your fingers by trying to hold down Shift and W at the same time for sometimes 20 to 30 minutes as you run across the entire map. You now simply need to hit colon and then just hold Shift. You never know, we might even get an auto run that allows us to toggle sprint in the future. But aside from that, we do have some additional features. We first up have a bunch of bug fixes, which I'm not going to go into today, as this game basically always has 1,000,001 bugs, and regardless of what your bug is, you're probably not going to see it get fixed for a couple of weeks. But if you do have a bug, feel free to let them know on their Discord, where they will hopefully get back to you at some point in time. We do also have the new Tier 3 Repair Bench, as well as some other additional benches. This Repair Bench is essentially going to act as your one-stop shop to repair any items you have. You no longer have to go to the different benches to figure out which item gets repaired at which bench, and you now can simply just go to this bench. You can also repair your exotic items that you bring in with you here, so that's a nice feature as well, but if I'm being completely honest, I don't think many people are going to craft it, as it does cost quite a bit, with 20 aluminum, 20 leather, 50 wood, and 10 stone to craft. Again, it's not crazy, but it's enough that most people won't bother on a typical mission. However, it will be used in open world mode for those of you who do actually play it. It's important to note that in order to repair those exotic tools, you are still going to need to make sure you bring in a workshop repair kit. So now it's just a workshop repair kit with extra steps. Now, we do also have some new items into the game, and these are some pretty impactful ones if I'm being honest with you. Let's start with the water wheel. The water wheel is a pretty straightforward item. It allows you to place a water wheel, which is a tier 4 electric generating machine that generates 2,000 electricity units, by simply placing it into moving water. This means you cannot place it in lakes and specific other moving water areas that the game doesn't qualify as moving water. So you'll need to be placing this basically in rivers. If you do so, you'll be able to generate that 2,000 electricity and only have to come back roughly every 3 hours or so, just under 3 to be specific, as they specify right here in the text, where you'll have to go pull out up to 50 items. Now, these items are usually going to be trash items, but you will also have things like fish in there sometimes. You will also have sponges in there. It can be a few different things, but at the end of the day, it's nothing really that useful to you. At least not if you're already crafting a tier 4 power generation unit. So either way, it's cool to have. It's a little bit less than the biofuel generators, but it's very much so passive and doesn't require you to go and fill them up constantly. You just need to check it every 3 hours, drop all the items out, and you're good to go. The next thing they've added is a whole set of new cooking benches that are in a higher tier. These are going to be the marbled cooking benches. You've got the kitchen bench, you've got the stove, you've got a whole bunch of other stuff just like you do with the other kitchen benches, but you also have a sink, which is pretty awesome. All of these will give you 50% increased crafting speeds, as well as access to a lot of different crafting recipes that you would previously have had to have multiple different benches in order to access. The plumbed sink will apply a buff to you that increases your crafting speed, move speed, health regeneration, and reduced water and food consumption for a short period of time. Unfortunately, we were unable to test this as it seemed that water pumping was not working at the time of recording this video. So if you guys do know the exact numbers, make sure to comment down below for that. Also, if you guys want to help save yourself on some of those numbers, in other words, spending money on games, make sure to go and check out Humble Bundle. Humble Bundle can be found in the link in our description, where you guys can save money by purchasing games through Humble Bundle and supporting our channel and supporting charity all at the same time. So you win, we win, and so do the charities, as we all end up saving money or making money in one way or another. Humble Bundle also tends to have ads that Steam doesn't, so make sure to check it out if you guys are interested in buying new games, whether it be a new game once in a while or a big game that you've been waiting on to pick up, as there's a good chance there's a sale on it and you'll be able to get it cheaper than you can on Steam. And again, you'll also be supporting charity. Now, let's jump back into the video. They've also managed to add some new 3D meshes to the game. This is going to include the electric furnace, the concrete furnace, the electric dehumidifier, the cooking bench, the glassworking bench, and the lightning rod, as they've all received essentially new looks, some more so than others. For an example, the lightning rod does not actually look all that different, at least not at first glance. Whereas if you go ahead and make yourself a concrete furnace, it looks completely different. It even has some cool animations when you put iron in there that I'm sure they'll apply to other materials over time. Either way, they're cool additions to the game. They also mentioned that they made sure to leave the previous version of those in the game for the previously crafted ones, so that it doesn't retroactively change the look of them. I think they did this for two reasons. One, they may just have not wanted to bother to actually code in the retroactive changes, and two, they also most likely decided to do it because they have different sizes, so some of these new models are going to be bigger than their previous ones and they wouldn't fit in the same space. Do keep in mind, the old furnaces in all of these models will not be able to be scrapped or refunded due to this change, so don't try to get your materials out of it, as you're not going to be able to. The last major thing we have in this patch is the fact that they made pastes useful in the game. They said, hey, you know all those little pastes that gives little tiny buffs? Yeah, those are gone. Now we have 4 super pastes. These are going to be your health enhancement, your stamina enhancement, your sustenance enhancement, and your strength enhancement tonics. These are going to apply a 2-minute buff to you and a bonus depending on which one you actually use instantaneously. For an example, if you use the health tonic, you'll essentially instantly regenerate 100 HP, as well as receiving a maximum HP and health regen buff for the next 2 minutes. The stamina one, if I'm being honest with you, is probably the biggest one, with the fact that this one will now give you some incredible sprint duration. This gives you also 200% regeneration, and it gives you a little bit of health and stamina when you consume it. The sustenance one will essentially just give you some resources for food, and the strength enhancement one will make it so that you are significantly better at melee damage, throwing speed, and you get some physical resistance as well. This one is particularly useful if you're not using a bow or gun, but either way, it's still nice to have. Now, there are some other minor changes as always down in the changelog, but I'm not going to waste your time with those. If you want to check them out, do feel free to go and read them via their actual dev blog post, where you can find them in your Steam library right underneath the play button. With all that being said, I want to give a big shout out to our Platinum and Above channel members, which include Caustic FPV, Jonathan S, and Jim Phillips. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Game Advisor, and I'll see you next time.